Hello everybody and welcome to No Lives Left. Nerdy Friend here, and I'm going to tell you a story. Now I'm going to tell you the tale of I Found You. Now, this story caught me a little bit by surprise. It gave me a little bit of a hook to start reading, and my morbid curiosity got the better of me. So, let's dig right into this pasta. I hope you like it. I Found You. 4:23 a.m. I didn't imagine it. I'm not fucking insane. My vision may have been distorted as a result of my excessive alcohol consumption, but I know what I saw. I know that it was real. I've been sat in a bath full of cold water for the past hour to try and shake the feeling of being covered in blood. Her blood. 5 hours earlier. It must have been about 11 p.m. when I stumbled through my front door. Perhaps stumbled is an understatement. I quite literally collapsed from how mentally exhausted I was, and all I wanted to do was sleep. It had been exactly 6 months since Hannah went missing, and despite my efforts of distracting myself, I knew that it would take more than several vodka shots and the burning sensation that they left in my throat to stop me from thinking about her. Hannah's my younger sister. She's introverted, yet somewhat jittery for a 16-year-old. She always looked unsettled, which is why I don't believe that she ran away. No, she was kidnapped. The last person that saw Hannah on the night of her disappearance was her friend as she was leaving the party she said that she was at, until I walked into my kitchen and saw her sitting on my floor tonight. Hannah? I sputtered as I rubbed my eyes, trying to adjust to my sight in the dark room. No response. She was sat on the floor with her back against the fridge, hugging her knees to her chest. Without hesitation, I slammed my fist against the light switch to illuminate the room, but before I could run towards her, there were 3 loud bangs against the window. I looked up to see my sister Hannah on the other side of the glass. Although her voice was muffled, the terror-stricken expression on her face, which was covered in smudged makeup, made it clear what she was saying. In between sobs, she was telling me to get out. I switched my attention to the girl that sat on my floor, who was now staring at me. I swiftly turned around and grabbed the door handle, but the door wouldn't open. The handle wouldn't even turn. Whilst I was frantically trying to move the handle, I locked eyes with the girl in my kitchen, who was now slowly standing up. She wore the same baggy, faded pink sweater that Hannah always wore. However, it was ripped and soaked with blood, which caused the material to cling to her petite frame. I glanced over to the window, but Hannah was no longer there. Had she gone to get help? I vigorously slammed my body repeatedly into the door in a futile attempt to open it. Then she started to speak, and my whole body froze. "I found you," she whispered emotionlessly, not moving her empty eyes from mine. "Where the fuck is my sister?" I growled. "This can't be her." I thought to myself, the way that she was menacingly glaring at me, Hannah would never look at me that way. The girl standing in front of me looked inhuman and drained of life. Even though she looked identical to Hannah, it couldn't be her. Without a doubt, it was my sister outside the window, and I needed to get to her. I wasn't going to lose her again. Suddenly, that girl threw herself into me and wrapped her arms around my waist. I yelled as I thrusted my body forwards, but she squeezed me harder. Mindlessly, I kneed her in the stomach, reaching for the kettle, and swung it around her head. As she fell to the ground, the door burst open from behind me. It was Hannah. She clung to my arm and cried whilst I stood in stunned silence, staring at the unconscious girl on the floor, who was now surrounded by a pool of blood. It must have been about 2 minutes that I stood there, but Hannah's chillingly cold hands, which were gripped so tightly into my arm, made it feel like I was standing there for hours. As cold as she felt, her fingertips burned my skin. Suddenly she let go and walked towards the girl. She still hadn't moved an inch. Hannah pressed her fingers to the girl's neck to feel her pulse. She waited for a few seconds and then looked up at me, shaking her head. Had I killed her? No, she was bleeding. She would have bled out anyway. I knew that I had to do something about this, but I had to sort out Hannah first. I decided that I would put her to bed and that we would talk about everything in the morning. I didn't want to overwhelm her, so I washed her face, tucked her into my bed, and decided that I needed to have a bath to take it all in. 4:23 a.m. I was covered in the blood of that girl, and my stomach churned at the thought of her lifeless body on my kitchen floor. She couldn't have been human. Even the way she walked made her look monstrous. Hannah hadn't spoken to me at all whilst I was putting her to bed, which really worried me. All she did was stare blankly at me. Coming to think of it, I swear she didn't even blink. She must have been through a lot for the past 6 months. All I need to do is concentrate on keeping her safe. I stepped out of the bath, still feeling dazed. As much as I didn't want to deal with the dead body in my kitchen, I knew that I had to, before Hannah wakes up. I slowly crept downstairs as the floorboards creaked beneath my feet. I stood outside the kitchen door. Why was I afraid to go in? My throat felt sore, as if I had swallowed razor blades. I gulped and pushed open the door. Gone. Everything was gone, and my kitchen had returned to its immaculate state. The body, the blood, it was gone. I stepped backwards and screamed as I nearly tripped over. Hannah. I sprinted up the staircase to my bedroom where Hannah was sleeping. I pushed open my bedroom door and collapsed to my knees. My head started spinning, and all I could see was nothing but an ocean of crimson. Blood stained my carpet, and it had all been sprayed up the walls. The dead girl from downstairs had been cut up. Parts of her body were spread all around the room, including the head, which had been decapitated. Above her sat a girl with long black hair, blacked out eyes, and ghostly pale skin. She looked up from her cupped hands, which were holding what looked like a heart of the girl, and slowly smiled at me, her mouth dripping with blood. That's not my sister. My sister is the girl that's currently scattered around my bedroom. It was her all along. While hyperventilating and paralyzed with fear, I managed to make out the words written in blood on my wall. You chose the wrong one. Before I could catch my breath, the creature sank her teeth into the heart of my sister and croaked, I found you. And that was the tale, I Found You. Huh. This was an interesting story. It was short, sweet, and to the point. However, the word whilst was used way too many times. There was no harm in using a comma, or separating the sentences, or the use of a transition word or phrase, like at the same time, or simply while. Even as insert noun here was insert doing something, this other thing happened. Really, the possibilities are endless. Also, grammar and spelling. Ask a friend to read it over in case they might find something that you might miss. Mistakes like these can be easily avoided if you proofread your work before publishing. Mistakes like these rip that beautiful yet fragile fabric of immersion like a table flip of rage during D&D due to a bad roll. It ruins the fun for everyone. So proofread your work! Also, I feel like the story was missing a lot of important details. I like a short, creepy story as much as the next guy, but when too much is left to the imagination, the story doesn't really feel like it's finished. For instance, the character named Hannah. Okay, what do we know about her? She's the character's little sister, 16 years old, typical teenage personality, and her blood-soaked pink sweater that was torn to hell. That's it. Everything else is left to the imagination. Can you imagine trying to draw up a reenactment on details like that? There's a severe lack of detail for her. In one way, I suppose I can understand, since she's a disposable character, obviously by the end of the story, but the whole story is built on the fact that she suddenly shows up after being missing for so long and whatnot. You'd think there'd be more detail, you know? I don't know. But I don't want to hate on this story completely. There's a few good points to be had here. Like for instance, the hook. The main character is introduced to us in the aftermath of the head bashing in the kitchen. Not a lot of detail was needed, but just saying that he was in a bath full of cold water for the past hour to try and shake the feeling of being covered in blood, her blood. That alone was all I needed to keep reading. I was hooked. It's a useful strategy if worked right. In this case, my morbid curiosity got me to keep reading. Also, the emotion. Very good. Every good story tugs at your emotions because of our human ability to sympathize and empathize. That helps deepen the immersion. I feel like the strongest moment of emotion besides the ending was the moment when the character growls, "Where the fuck is my sister?" When reading that, I immediately put myself in that position, feeling that rising anger like the character did. Even if it was only for a second or two, mission accomplished. Also, the twist ending. Everyone loves a good twist. In this case, the twist left us with a good cliffhanger too. The bad guy gloats about their success in duping the character and says the name of the story, as she eats at the character's sister's heart right in front of him. Way to put sugar in the wound, am I right? Sugar hurts more than salt. My verdict? It's a good story. Add some more detail and proofreading and it'll be good to go. I'd give it a 3 out of 5. Thank you very much for watching, and this has been another No Lives Left Creepypasta story time. Again, the story is called I Found You. If you liked what you saw, why not you hit the like button and subscribe to the channel? If you want to help this channel get better, consider supporting us on Patreon. Even the smallest contribution can make a big difference. All the art was drawn by me, Nerdy Friend. As a side note, this video took entirely too long to make, like 3 weeks in total. Besides that, thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Bye for now.